Ah, yes. The great camp comics have always known how to make an entrance. They'd demand a 45-piece orchestral play on, 10 gallons of dry ice, a staircase and a line of showgirls just to pop into Tesco's for a pair of kippers. But then, extravagant excess, that's the very heart of campery. And the campest of the camp are here to show how very funny it can be. Kenneth Williams, Larry Grayson, Kenny Everett, John Inman, and of course, Frankie Howerd, the comeback king. Tonight, with the help of some of today's top TV stars, I'll be trying to find out what made the champions of Camperama tick. Not only tick, but go cuckoo every now and then. Before we begin, though, let's try and answer what seems a perfectly straightforward question. What does camp actually mean?
I woke up this morning and I felt as limp as a vicar's handshake.
I immediately think of Larry Grayson or something and, oh, you know, all this stuff, I suppose. I mean, in an exaggerated female way.
Mr. Humphreys, are you free?
I'm busy pricing my ties, Captain Peacock.
The gentleman wishes to try on a dress.
I'm free.
I think camp humour is very simplistic. It's what you see is what you get. And on the whole, it's a very unthreatening humour.
I opened the door in my dressing gown. I'm not going to say it. It is a funny place to have a door.
Camp covers lots of areas. It goes from the very vulgar, I suppose, to the very subtle.
You say potato, I say potato. You say tomato, I say tomato. Potato, tomato, tomato, potato. Let's call the whole thing off.
There's a tremendous vulnerability to camp. Underneath the often shrieking self-assurance of it, there is this double fear. First of all, of a man's world, and I've never seen any reason why anyone should do anything except fear the man's world, and also of women themselves.
Oh, I nearly forgot. You're male.
Yes, I am, and I can prove it. Do you hear? Prove it!
Kenneth Williams, critics call your performances the height of camp.
Yes.
These carry-on films. Now, camp is a misused word today. What is a camp performance?
Well, I believe the word camp has actually found its way into the addenda of the OED.
I beg your pardon?
It's found its way into the addenda of the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, and it's defined there as that which is fundamentally frivolous. And I suppose that's about the nearest you get to an academic definition of it. What I think the general, current interpretation of the word is always that which is verging on the effeminate, that sort of thing, which is ludicrous said about me because I've personified what you might call the butch element in light entertainment some time now.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, camp has been with us ever since God said, "Let there be light entertainment." If your jewellery is immoderate, your language outlandish, your manner ostentatious, if you strut, flounce, prance, and generally overshoot the mark, sweetie, you're camp. And even if camp is a word with a wide number of interpretations, there's no doubt about it, you know it when you see it, especially when it's funny.
Ah, your days are numbered. Beware the Ides of March.
Oh, shut up, you silly old faggot.
Kenneth Williams was one of the first camp comics to gain national notoriety thanks to his partnership with Hugh Paddick as Julian and Sandy, a pair of chorus boy duckies on the Sunday afternoon radio show Round the Horn. Jules and Sand were so far out of the closet that they couldn't have got back in without a long-haul flight. Their banter was gay in all senses of the word, even employing the camp slang language of Polari. But to the home audience, listening in their millions, Julian and Sandy were nothing more than a pair of charmingly amusing nice boys.
Hello, anybody there?
Oh, hello, I'm Julian, and this is my friend Sandy.
Oh,
The whole country would stop and get home for like 1:30 Sunday lunchtime, whatever, and work their dinner in the pub and everything around it.
And we sat round listening to this every single Sunday, same time, every Sunday, and we used to laugh at it, and none of us could have known what it meant.
Oh, yes, we're filling in as photographers between acting engagements on the telly. We just done this one where I'm all dragged up as a sultan.
And there's me stood at his side wearing a pair of great baggy trousers and full of Eastern promise.
The campness in Julian and Sandy was all in the Polari, really, and not knowing what they were saying, but imagining what it might be. And the freeness, the fact that they sounded so free and easy, and they're in their own little world in the middle of stiff Britain.
Paddick and I used to play Julian and Sam, and we used to come in, and Kenneth Horne was always eminently reasonable with these two. They used to come in and say, "Oh, Miss Rawn, oh, Bonnet Vardy, or Dolly O'Deek, oh, Miss Rawn, oh, yes, how Bonnet Vardy, or Dolly O'Deek again."
Thank you very much.
Bona Tavadi or Dolly Aldeek. How could they possibly have known what that meant? How could any of us have known what that meant?
How Bona Tavadi or Dolly Aldeek just means how nice to see your face again.
We are poised at a moment in history. The future could be naff. Or it could be Bona.
That was gay men's means of communicating for quite some time in public.
The majority of people listening to the Old Home Service, or was it The Light, I can't remember, should have been The Light, quite honestly, with those two, but they would never, ever have thought what was going on in that language. And indeed, if the BBC knew, they'd have closed down in shame.
Let us put our best lally forward, and with our eeks shining with hope, stroll together towards the fantabulosa futurette.
Round the Horne made Kenneth Williams a household name at around the same time that the Carry On films were hitting their stride in the early 60s. In his life, as in his art, Kenneth Williams was 9/10 sexually repressed steam, barely contained by 1/10 of a man's body. I remember during the making of Carry On Sergeant, the first Carry On film, after completing a particularly difficult scene with Kenneth, I gave him a big hug, and he instantly recoiled. He said, "I like you very much, but never, ever do that to me again." His horror of all things physical meant that he was the perfect prig to be outraged by the sexy vulgarities of the Carry-Ons. Yet for all his proclaimed rejection of fleshly temptations, Ken's prurient curiosity couldn't quite resist a spot of voyeurism, even if it led to getting an eyeful in quite the wrong way.
Filthy beasts! Disgusting
When you see Kenneth Williams, his material isn't particularly camp. I mean, I don't remember him doing... Oh, I'm not thinking about the radio, obviously Round the Horne was, but when he was on TV, and even in the Carry On movies, he often wasn't that camp in terms of the actual what he was doing or saying, but it was the manner in which he presented himself, and that kind of, you know, I can't do it, but the nose like a stallion up on full display, and him, oh, no, all that, matron.
Oh, matron, this is the men's!
The face is continually in that attitude. Ooh, there's not much you can do with it. And I think it's one of the reasons that he was tremendously unhappy. He was unfulfilled artistically.
Oh, no, you don't! No, matron, I was just taking a shortcut.
But don't you see, it raises the problem of sex.
I assure you, matron, I wouldn't dream of bothering you in that way.
You knew Fatty Jakes, you knew she'd be playing the matron, and she'd have the stark apron on, and then she'd try and get Kenneth Williams into bed, and that was funny because you were waiting for that to happen.
But I feel you're different, Doctor. Don't you feel something?
No, I believe in keeping my hands to myself.
But that night in the hostel, you showed me your true feelings. Now I beg you, let me show you mine.
But I don't want to see yours.
Don't fight you!
You're seeing a guy who's camp, being chased by a woman, and you know he's resisting advances for that reason. She's very much barking up the wrong tree. On the other hand, I suppose it's meant to be, if you don't get that outside of it, it's like, oh, it's the fat woman chasing him. He doesn't want the fat woman, you know, and it's as simple as you want it to be.
Don't rush me. I think you'll find it's worth waiting for.
Yeah, so it's Christmas, but you won't find me stuffing your turkey.
He is in many ways asexual. I think he was. I think he'd switched off any real emotion, which is why he could play those sort of amazing sort of characters.
Whatever goes on between you and Dr. Good is no concern of mine, however disgusting it may be. And... Oh, disgusting.
I mean, he played Kenneth Williams in a suit, didn't he? He played Kenneth Williams in a uniform, played Kenneth Williams in a toga, and he adjusted his personality to fit.
That'll be Cleopatra. Shall I let her in? Just a minute. Give me a chance to look all sexy.
Come in.
He was a stereotypical weak person, weak Englishman, you know, which is something that we all sort of identify with.
Right, let's have it again. In reverse order. Number 5, 4, 3, 2.
1.
Are you one?
Oh, yes. You one, too.
He lived his life inside out, Kenneth Williams. Most of us have a vivid personal life and are pretty straight outside. He lived the other way around. His own personal life was very ascetic, and his home was like a priest's cell, I'm told.
I do like cleaning my own walls down, and it was interesting, I found, you know.
Do you do it from the bottom up or the top down?
No, I start at the top. I start at the ceiling, and then work my way down.
Everything's got to be clean and smell nice. Oh, it's such dirt. Oh!
I have a horror of dirt. I have a real horror of it. I'm a hypochondriac, of course, and I think it's all dirt is germ-laden. I think germs are coming in. You see, I rush around with Dettol and...
You know, everything had to be very clean and nice, proper, and this sort of exaggerated bitchiness that he had.
I always keep my vowels open, you see. There's like lovely vowel sounds, aren't they? I've got the diction, you see. I have got it. Oh, even at drama school they used to say, you've got the diction, Kenny. Go on, show us your diction.
The way Kenneth Williams would speak, and it's often the way with camp people, their words come out of their mouth, unashamedly dressed in mink and mules.
My father was a Cockney. No, he didn't talk like me at all. No, he hated my kind of talk. He always said, what did you go around with a plum in your mouth for? Talk like that for? Putting it on, giving yourself airs. Well, I wasn't giving myself airs at all,
I think if Kenneth Williams was acidic, and I'm sure, and he was, come on, he wrote that book called Acid Drops that I refer to quite regularly before I go off to parties. You just need 3 or 4 up your sleeve, don't you?
You freeze your tongue and give yourself a sleigh ride, dear. Yes.
He was so good at delivering lines like that, and he was so good at his job, which is exactly what it was. It was his profession, but not a happy man, alas.
Emotionally, he couldn't make it in his private life, and he had to discharge that emotion out in public.
Du blanc tendre restante, Jacques Cousteau, Yves Saint Laurent, où est la plume dématante? C'est la vie, ma crêpe Suzette.
Kenneth Williams had a formidable mind. He was very well read, wrote very, very good diaries, mainly about his inner anguish. But my own view is that the inner anguish had a lot to do with the fact that his outer expression was just so limited by this wild, weird convention he was working in.
I will not be put off, not after I've done for you.
Mädchen, no, please. Oh, your hand. Where have you put your hand? Well, I've heard of the bedside manner, but this...
What do you mean by this intrusion? What do you think you're doing?
Not what you thought of doing, that's for sure.
Frankie Howerd was about as different from Kenneth Williams as it's possible to get. Hard done by, resigned to failure, theatrically seedy, Frankie slouched on to the strains of You Can't Have Everything, in camp contradiction of his actual stardom, making out his dressing room was a broom cupboard and his weekly salary was paid in petty cash.
My room is very small. It's only one room, and there's a budgie and me. But the thing is, what I say goes, that's the main thing.
What? His mood was ever-changing. One moment lustful, the next listless, the tufty eyebrows apparently glued on at random over those small, wild eyes. A unique comic creation, once aptly described as Simple Simon with mumps.
Sir? Yes, pleasure. Going back to Salisbury?
Yes.
Oh, how is Salisbury?
Divine. Absolutely divine.
Oh, another camp follower here, I think.
I once read a very, very long analysis of Frankie Howerd based entirely on the idea that he was butch. Nobody had told me. Usually with the camp comedians you could tell, but I couldn't tell with Frankie Howerd.
I grew up thinking Frankie Howerd was the butchest bloke in the world. When I was a kid, I used to watch Out Pompeii, and I thought, this guy, man, he's unstoppable. Because it was always about, oh, no, now, Lucretia, the slave girl, is getting undressed next door, and I'll have a peep.
Come on, there's one more. Come on. That's the lot.
This guy's got nothing but sex with women on his mind every second of the day. And, of course, being about, I suppose, 12 or 11 at the time, there was a bond between us.
Your shoulders are like the Venus de Milo. Your bosoms are like the round hills of Rome.
Oh, what are my eyes?
I'm not going that way, I'm sorry.
The lovely thing about Frankie is that it's so patently obvious that he wouldn't go near, it was always obvious, that he wouldn't go near a woman in real life if he could possibly help it.
Oh, my darling, be mine, be mine.
Oh, do you really think we ought to?
Well, may as well. It's bitter out.
it's sometimes funnier when you see someone like Frankie Howerd sort of playing from within, I don't know, the belly of the beast and being a heterosexual character on stage or screen, knowing full well that, of course, that isn't him. And it does give it there's a certain extra quality, there's a certain strangeness that comes from that. But I think it's something which is very hard to put your finger on, if you'll forgive me being a bit camp there.
I cannot kiss you, please. Look, I realise I'm attracted to women. I realise that.
He fed off the audience entirely, and all those titter-ye knots would come the moment he heard a first titter.
Your pardon, missus, your pardon you. I like titters of all sizes. Listen, big titters, small titters, titters of every size and description.
It's very repetitious, and it's almost like a calling card, because you can watch the stuff over and over again, and it's the same type of thing. I mean, it doesn't make it any less clever, because he could make it work every time.
But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to plead for you a favour. Tonight I need your titters.
The other clever thing that would be picking out one person.
Titters, dear, what do you keep laughing at? Mrs, I wasn't being personal, love, don't look at me. Mrs? As common as muck, that one there. Join her over here. I told you, it's not one of those shows. This show's about class. Shut up! Shut up! Oh, shut your face. Loosen something, loosen something. Poor soul. Nothing worse, your knickers out of focus. Now, listen. No, I never forget what it is to be a part of an audience. And I've always sort of been able to... It's a strange thing, but I think in a sort of way, particularly when I'm playing live shows, I've had the ability to be a bit of a split personality because of this. I can put myself in an audience's position. Do you understand? At the same time as perform. Yes. And oh, look at her sat there, look at her, all toffee-nosed. She's sat there, look at her, she's going, oh, she's scoffing. She's saying, I do hope he's not going to be vulgar. Don't worry, missus, I know your type, all fur coat and no knickers, so don't sit there scuffing at us, mate.
Frankie was wonderfully gossipy. I mean, that was the other thing you'd feel with Frankie. You could sit down and say the most wonderful things to each other about, oh, her over there. Oh, you could enjoy yourself hugely.
We've got some very funny people next door, in the next room to me, very funny people. Well, there was him, now, he's 80 and she's 75, this couple, 80 and 75. They're newlyweds, just married. The way they carry on, I can't tell you. I don't know how they do it. Well, I do, because I do.
I like Frankie Howerd very much because he always looked like he was on the verge of a hugely bad mood.
Don't get common, missus, please. Don't shut us up, dear.
It goes against everything that you expect of an entertainer. You expect an entertainer to be up and happy. We're paying you to be, you know, to jolly us along. And here comes, you know, Frankie Howerd or Larry Grace, and they all did that kind of, oh, I've not been well.
But, you know, I don't know how I feel. Do you know, I feel sort of... I can't, I'm not in the mood. I'm sort of feel titter-bound. I don't, you say,
I don't think Frankie did overtly camp stuff. There was a camp manner about him.
It was always hinted at. It was always there in the background, but never fully expressed.
Oh, you've arrived on washing day. Oh, dear. Honestly, I do feel smalls. Yes, well...
No. He was obsessed that people shouldn't think he was homosexual, but whether he would have minded a label like camp, I have my doubts.
You would not fight for your freedom. What are you, man or mouse?
Pass the cheese, please.
Now, before we start to work, how would you like a nice cup of tea?
Oh, I'd love one.
You would?
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy.
In 1943, at the age of 15, I sat in the Prince of Wales Theatre in London and saw a sort of showcase review of unknown talent called Strike a New Note. The sensation of the youth on parade was an overnight success called Sid Field. For youth, read Knocking 40. For overnight success, read 30 years hard labour in provincial variety halls. I went back a dozen times to watch London's Discovery, playing his audiences like a violin. But there's seldom been a better case for the phrase, you just had to be there. It was Sid Field who coined the catchphrase, what a performance! And he had a tremendous influence on post-war comics, but little of his work remains today. Film failed to capture his personal magic, and TV came too late. But it's worth a sample from his gallery of dodgy but lovable characters, because none was more innocently, helplessly camp than his matronly host, fussily entertaining and equally arch Jerry Desmond.
I say, Sidney.
Yes?
Can I come and help you?
No, really, dear boy. Lovely of you to ask. Thanks so much.
Oh, I know. A jolly good idea.
Do tell me.
Let me cut the bread and butter.
No, really, truly, it's already cut and the butter's wiped on.
I'd never watched a Sid Field film until recently, and I could see that he'd influenced Larry Grayson with all the touching of the hair and the whole thing, and that I grew up watching Larry Grayson, so it would have reached me somehow.
It's how I looked at Mr. Humphreys, Sid Fields. He's an auntie, he's comfortable, he's really quite nice. He's effeminate, but many men are.
I see, what do you think of the weather?
Oh, dreadful.
How changeable, isn't it? Don't know what to wear, do you?
No, you really don't.
You've been keeping all right, have you?
Yes, thank you.
I like it because, you know, it's the exaggerated feminine side, and it's not like women are, but it's like an exaggeration of women played by men, I suppose.
I love a nice strong cup, don't you?
Yes, please.
Forgive me pouring that way, only I used to work on the railway.
Oh, you never.
I think it's very specifically camp. I think that's what he's setting out to do, you know, and I think he's setting out to parody effete behaviour. And he does it extremely well.
Do you know, Whittaker, really, I've never been the same since my last operation.
Oh, you poor soul. Was it serious?
Serious, I think it was. 14 weeks on my back with my leg up.
Oh, really, that's dreadful. Were you stitched?
Well, I certainly wasn't crocheted.
Sid Field. He did have an influence on Larry Grayson, who was to become perhaps the quintessential camp comic of the TV age. Larry was the Hamlet of hypochondria, the Larry Olivier of lassitude, the father of the Fae. When Larry caught a cold, he limped.
Do you know, I don't know how I've walked from the dressing room to here. My back is killing me. Because I'm not well at the best of times, you see. No, I'm not. I've got ever so giddy. No. I'm not well. I've got my hot flushes coming on me again. It's the time of the year. But you see, the thing is, you see, I've got the worms as well again.
Dear Larry, limper than a filleted lettuce leaf. And no matter how close to the wind he sometimes sailed, his essential sweetness of nature and obvious best intentions protected him from giving offence. Like Sid Field, Larry's finesse derived from arduous years in tatty variety, low-salaried concert parties and small-town pantos. There he saw other performers overdoing campery to the point of crudeness, and that resulted in Larry's withdrawal from explicit material and his adoption of a more subtle style. Then a serious illness in 1970 nearly finished him off, and that brush with death gave him the final touch of insouciance. He once told me, it's all style and attitude with me now, Bob. I let the audience make up their own jokes. He seemed like a nice boy, and he was.
Well, I'm worn out before I start.
He would actually, you'd ring your front doorbell, you'd open the door and he'd go, oh, thank God you're in. Oh, I feel dreadful, I'll have to sit down. It was for real, a lot of that, you know.
My mother, I'm going to have a giddy again. I think it's the brown bread. No, my mother.
He was very strictly brought up by a lady who was his sister/aunt, really, because he was adopted at an early age. So there was no great male influence there, and everything was to do with Fiery Jack and Win Carnis and Ovaltine, and everything was domestic and warm.
Well, you see, I haven't got my ointment, because I have this special ointment, you see, to rub on. I can't get Fiery Jack, but I got this special ointment. I've lost his address anyway, and...
He brought a lot of his sort of, what shall I say, parlour sayings that he would say in someone's house to the stage.
and immediately endeared himself to the large proportion of his audience that was made up of ladies of a certain age. And they were blue-rinsed, and they adored it.
So I went on the Thursday, because I always go to the laundrette on the Thursday. And it's near there, it's in Canal Street. Well, number 35, if you'd like to go. Well, anyway, I went.
The great thing about someone like Grayson was that incredible timing. I mean, from 40-odd years of, you know, doing these dreadful tours and awful sort of summer seasons and whatever, I mean, he had learnt... I mean, he could do things with just a look, or just a touch of his hair about, you know, must wash my hair or whatever, that just made you laugh. I mean, his timing was extraordinary.
It just so happens for this piece, I've got a big one and you've got a small one. If you were over there, you'd have a big one, and if I was here, I'd have a small one. This time I've got a big one, you've got a small one. What are you complaining about?
You can't follow that, can you?
He just went out and he took his chair with him because he was lonely out there. That was the reason for the chair. And the chair went out because he wanted someone with him, wanted somebody alongside him.
Yes, needing some support in case he collapses, I suppose.
No. Riff-raff.
And when it had been on the left-hand side and he'd been leaning on it, he'd say sometimes, we'll have a change of scenery, and would move it round to the other side. He used to bring the audience down.
Have a change of scenery. No, I could... Sweating like a dray horse. No, I mean...
No, because he had to stand in that way to be his camp self.
No, you see, the thing is... No, listen. Now, isn't this... Look at the muck on here. And the muck on here. No, I was wrong. Look at the muck here. Are you...
The catchphrases, which every comedian relies upon, were there with Larry from early on, but they were all said. They weren't dreamt up by him.
What a gay day.
What a gay day, yes. Well, that was a novelty at the time. Not anymore.
He seems like a nice boy, doesn't he?
Seems like a nice boy. Yeah, and everybody kind of adopted it, I suppose.
Jack Parnell, I did reproach, but I'm sure he's got my brooch.
I'm sure he's got my brooch, which he used to do nearly every week. It implies some kind of rivalry with something going on there, you know.
And in the case of Shut That Door...
Shut that door!
It was an agent of his who, if there was a draft in the theatre and she was talking to him backstage, would shout, "Shut that door!" immediately. And Larry just thought it was so funny and picked it up.
You know it's going to be coming and you wait for it. When it does come, it still makes you laugh. And then he might say it 4 times on the trot and it'll still make you laugh again.
But I tell you this, shut that door. Draft here's wicked. No, the thing is, you see...
Shut that door implies that he's delicate. You know, it's a very camp catchphrase.
Shut that door, it's freezing cold in here. Shut that door, I'm feeling rather queer.
Funny enough, Shut That Door is one of my least favourite now, although I enjoyed it at the time.
On the other side of the record, it's all about Slack Alice. Everard's livid.
What I really liked about him was that whole cast of characters that were never seen and always talked about.
Apricot Lil worked in the jam factory in Nuneaton.
And Apricot Lil, of course, she's fell in altogether, Apricot Lil.
Perhaps her name wasn't Apricot Lil, but she certainly worked on the Apricot track. And she existed, and Larry used to listen to everything that she said.
But she said, "You must beware, because I've got 3 women coming from the jam factory for a spiritualist meeting," she said.
And he was staying in with landlady, whose son was Everard. And Larry thought, he's going to thank you in years to come for giving him that name.
I was sitting there, you see, and there came this knock on my knocker. And come in, I cried. It was Everard. When he came in, we is wet, and he came in.
As a 12-year-old boy, I didn't get all of the, you know, Everard, Everhard. It didn't occur to me that was a reference. But I knew it was funny.
Well, I said, I've got a tent. He said, well, do you know anyone that has? I said, yes. I said, I'll ring my friend, Everard. So...
One thing Larry had, and again he had tuned it to a degree of perfection, he had an amber light. And he knew and he sensed when he was going too far. and the amber light came on.
Well, since Slack Alice heard the record, she'd never been sober. She'd never been sober at all. She's out all the time. No, she'll be in the Cock and Trumpet tonight with her legs up. She will. She wears a miniskirt. She does. She wears a miniskirt. The top of her legs are like two bolsters.
I could see it in a clip when he starts talking about the record he's made, and Slack Alice is on the B-side, and she's been drunk ever since, and she'll have her red hat on tonight, which seemed to imply something other than wearing a red hat.
Yes. Oh, she'll have a red hat on tonight, all right. It's gone to her head, you see. Anyway.
You could see him kind of check himself there, which maybe he wouldn't have done if he wasn't in a television studio.
Don't keep doing that, Bruce, and that I know we're live. All right, Flash, don't get yourself in uproar.
What it perhaps is a mischief, and it's something that makes us laugh, and we don't quite know why. It's slightly naughty.
She said, oh, yes, it's all here. She said, something very big's coming your way. Oh. Yes, she said, you'll sleep in many beds, she said. And you'll never want again. Well, just then...
I'll tell you the surprising thing is that the miners at the Chapel End Club in Nuneaton, they loved him. They thought it was the funniest thing out. It was virtually an all-male club.
How does a sort of working, tough, say, a stevedore audience, a Dockers audience, how does it react to that?
To me, Terry. You know, they say, like, all right, Larry, great, my mother loves you. All right. They laugh, you see, like, they go, oh, Larry, what a gay day, and all that. And it's done like, it's done for fun.
People of the stature of Grayson and Kenny Williams and people, I mean, they were so good that you couldn't help but laugh, you know, you weren't offended. There was nothing there getting at your matchiness. It was just funny, it was just silly, and it was... I mean, in the case of Grayson and Williams, I mean, they were just very clever guys.
Ready? Just a minute, just a moment, just a moment. What's the matter with this? You may very well say, oh dear. I remember when I used to see comedians who I now would consider camp, like, say, Larry Grayson, I never used to laugh at them having the limp wrist and doing the Everard and all shut that door. But I think overall it was just a sort of... You felt quite affectionate towards them. I always did. I thought, you know, I liked this person.
I think you're lovely, I do. I do, honestly, and you're not bad either.
He did a lot of I love you very much stuff, which also seemed very, very genuine.
I love you very much and God bless you. That's all.
And, of course, we loved him very much. In fact, Larry boosted the audience of happy families watching the Generation Game to 18 million, during a decade which sparkled with camp, like a pair of Pan's People's sequined flares. It seemed as if no sketch show or sitcom could be made without a prominent camp character, and unquestionably, leader of the pack was John Inman, who played the perennial bachelor boy, the endearingly niminy-piminy Mr. Humphreys in Are You Being Served?
When John got Are You Being Served, he had done some TV work, obviously, but mainly it was theatre. And he and his then partner, Barry Howard, apparently were the best ugly sisters in the business. They were absolutely brilliant.
There was no mention of Mr. Humphreys being camp, or... that grew. It sort of got out of hand. I would have been here at 8:58, but I caught my handbag in the lift.
Handbag?
Well, it's Miss Brahms, actually. She left it on the stairs. She must have been in rather a hurry. Besides, I wouldn't be seen dead with imitation crocodile. Not with these shoes, anyway.
John Inman was certainly probably, I think, the campest character I remember. And I remember being aware of John Inman obviously being, you know, not as me in his approach to boys and girls, and finding that quite charmingly amusing, you know, and not threatening at all.
Are you free? Well, I was just having a chat to Mr. Lucas, Mr. Granger, but I am free, aren't I, Mr. Lucas?
Oh, yes, you're free.
From time to time, we all went, I'm free. And it wasn't until I screamed it that it sort of became mine.
John, are you free?
I'm free.
Where's Mr. Humphreys? Is he free?
I'm free. I'm very free, Mr. Gray. Yes, I'm free, Mr. Gray. Yes, we're free, Captain Peacock. The walk was my idea, actually. I did it one day at rehearsals purely to make the cast laugh. And as time went on, of course, I had to do that every week. And of course, with the high heels, you get that lovely bounce.
He plays it so well. The mannerisms are so, not believable, but they're an exaggeration, they're a caricature of what you'd expect someone who was maybe unsure about their sexuality to be like.
There's not a lot of subtlety in that performance, but that is not to say that it's a bad performance, because it's a wonderful performance. But you absolutely know and identify with what that character is 100% immediately.
The character was specifically there to be laughed at. And I think that was a departure, a different kind of area to go into in the 70s in camp.
Mr. Humphreys, you can't wear a lady's ankle-length fur coat in broad daylight.
You're quite right, Captain Peacock. I'll have it shortened and wear it in the evenings. Well, the BBC did say once to David Croft, yes, we will have some more of these, but get rid of the puff. Now, David Croft said, well, if the puff goes, I go, and the show goes, you know. Very kind of him. I believe they were referring to me, or to Mr. Humphreys, anyway.
Mr. Humphreys, every other time.
It depends what you had in mind, Captain Peacock.
I mean, that seems to be a thing about camp comics. They're quite submissive and flirtatious, but they're never predatory, I don't think. You know, and I think if they become predatory, I mean, John Inman was away, and it was almost like he was fishing and trying to touch base with someone who was on a similar wavelength.
I think John Inman did a very good job at what he was asked to do. I think what he was asked to do was pretty appalling, really. I think, but that's the way things were at that time.
Mr. Humphreys, take off that ridiculous scarf.
But Captain Peacock!
Don't argue with me. Take it off.
As you wish.
I always thought that Are You Being Served and programs like that were operating with almost no material. And why the Americans like them is a real question. And it's huge now in America, Are You Being Served? And I think it's because they're just starting to dip their toe into the water of camp comedy.
They love it to death, because it's a bit rude. Do you know, my old headmaster would give a fortune to smell me now. He'd say, I knew, I told you.
What sort of a school did you go to, Mr. Humphreys?
Mixed.
Oh, yeah, girls and boys.
No, just boys.
Camping it up became the comedy fashion of the unrepressed 70s. Thanks to Gay Lib, the opposite sex became a multiple choice. And, of course, our comedians, whether straight or otherwise, seized on the new freedom to express their gaiety.
I'm sure you'd enjoy life in my regiment, sir.
What regiment's that?
The Queen's.
The Queen? Oh, I say.
On! Camp it up! Oh, get her once!
I'll scratch your eyes out.
Something on your mind, soldier? Well, I got me a problem, Miss Gray. You see, I promised that I'd lay on a camp entertainment for the guys. Oh, and you want to borrow my dress?
Chic. I'm not like that. I mean, I may stand like that. But I'm not like that.
You should see what he wears underneath.
Oh? He wouldn't dare. Oh.
Outrageous!
Violence? What's he know about violence? He's only got to break a nail he takes to his bed for the rest of the day. Nobody's talking to you, Rigsby. You just don't like him. I don't know why. Well, for one thing, he calls me Ducky. That's why. If he calls me Ducky once more, I shall have him. Hello, Ducky.
As a doctor, you need to know when to use patience and when to use speed. The V70 is all about composure. This environment is always testing your abilities. This car saves lives, and it helps me save lives.
a fat, fluffy middle. Real Milky Way chocolate. Perfect. If you got a bad altitude problem.
For us computer fans, PC World has got the lot. Britain's biggest choice. All at the low, low prices we like. Plus expert advice and upgrades. In-home installation to get you started. And 24-hour helplines. Any questions, just ask. That's what we're here for. We'll find the perfect PC for you. Welcome to our world. Don't miss it.
PC World.
It all began with the mail, really. First sending business letters, then sending businessmen. And instead of a week or two, they got there in a day or two. From then on, there was no going back. Everyone wanted to get into the act, until the entire planet was open for business. For over 70 years, United Airlines has been rising to the challenge, doing everything we can so that you can do everything you can. And we'll keep doing just that. Together, we'll keep rising, just as far as our imaginations will carry us.
On its own, or with a little imagination, Lee & Perrins Worcestershire sauce is the instant marinade for delicious meals.
Hello in there, and welcome to the show. Kenny Everett single-handedly transformed camp for a modern TV audience. A slight bearded figure on the outside, he looked like your mild-mannered local vicar. Yet on the inside, he was a cornucopia of camp, just like your mild-mannered local vicar. Even before he hit the small screen, Everett had already revolutionized radio with the irreverent and madcap style of presentation that marked out his genius. When his TV show eventually arrived in the early 80s, it brought all the playfulness, exuberance, and excess of camp, along with a brand of naughtiness designed to appeal to a much younger audience.
And by the way, if you're going out, don't despair. Here's a condensed version of tonight's show. Wasn't that great? Hope you enjoyed it. I loved the scene in the monastery, didn't you? But don't let me keep you. Bye. See you.
We'd be chatting away till midnight or whatever about all sorts of silliness. He'd suddenly go, I'll go and do a jingle, darlings. And he'd go off and make this sort of epic jingle for about an hour. And then the next day he would post the whole show to London. And he just used to say, that's it, darling, that's the Sunday show.
He's a groovy guy with a very good eye for picking all the hits, and he goes...
I remember him in one of his radio shows offering people a prize. And, yes, that was it. He did one of his competitions and said a prize was 2 weeks down my cleavage, you know. I remember that.
It seems that every time you turn on the telly, some low comedian is using some bosomy girl as a foil for his cheap jokes. If you agree, write to me. Ludovic Kennedy, Keep Boobs Off Our Tubes, Wood Lane, London, etc.
I thought Kenny Everett was a classic from the first day. His TV shows were just revolutionary, like his radio show.
Kenny Everett's camp was much more aggressive, much more outrageous, and something that you couldn't share with your mother. You know, my mum and dad would not go for Kenny Everett at all. I think they would be affronted by that, whereas I found it hilarious, because it was anarchic. And there's something about camp humour that is anarchic.
Send me victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over you.
I love Kenny Everett. I think he was one of those rare comedians who create their own comedy world.
Yes, he was looking at the world in a certain way. So everything that he did was coming from way off centre. So that would make it camp, I think.
Hello. Angry of Messiah. You know, I don't know what the world's coming to. You're all demented.
I think Kenny never knew who he was. I mean, he knew there was an amazing talent there somewhere. He was never really sure, nobody's really sure quite how to harness it.
And the result was a boiling cauldron of inventiveness. There's no point quarrelling with the way people are. What you have to do is examine what they produce.
You know, I was in the Bricklayer's Arms the other night, if you see what I mean. And this snivelling tick came up to me at the bar and said, "What's that picture on the wall?" I said, "Damn you, it's obvious! It's a picture of a ferry boat." And he said, "Well, I knew we were strong, but I didn't know we had our own navy."
I think the early days of the stuff with Lord Thames, the Kenny Everett video show, I thought he was quite brilliant. I mean, and some of those characters were just extraordinary.
So it is time to do the naughty French strip. First of all, da-dun-dun, da-da-dun-dun, da-dun-dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun, dun, 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 dun. Yes, it was me all the time.
I mean, he was manic. I mean, he was actually potty. I mean, he was completely mad as a March hare. A lot of those characters, I mean, Sid Snot and all those things, and the woman in the best possible taste.
Anyway, it's all done in the best possible taste.
They were just sort of these big, larger-than-life, bizarre figures.
The great thing about Kenny, when he did a female impersonation, was it was a female impersonation with a capital F and a capital I. He'd strap on an enormous pair of breasts, for example. It was obviously an impersonation. He took no satisfaction at all in disappearing into the character, which most female impersonators do. It's a refuge. They vanish into it.
And now, it's time to go. It's time to say, your Cupid's leaving. I'd like you all to know that all my wobbly bits are heaving.
I know that when he used to play the character Cupid Stunt, he really hated wearing makeup, and he hated having glue, because he used to have to glue the wig onto his beard.
I mean, who else drags up with a beard? Well, that's camp, isn't it, really?
If you're looking for a warm front, honey, you've come to the right place. Because I can feel those isobars a-throbbing.
Everett was always Everett, so he was parodying the whole thing. I think he was parodying his own wish to do it. You know, he wasn't at ease with it, and again that made for crackling tension in everything he did. He was hell to handle for these reasons.
Just a night for the first time, just about half past 10. For the first time in history, it's gonna start raining then.
If you ever, as a bloke, thought, he's a bit funny, that little Kenny Everett. I mean, most people, as I say, didn't really actually believe, or want to believe, probably, that Kenny was remotely gay, but you would sit there sometimes listening on the radio thinking, it's a strange thing, a bloke talking about hoovering for 10 minutes to a woman, you know, or his new French duster or whatever.
Don't forget, every weekend when they go home, we hoover. But check the controls. I don't want you blowing when you should be sucking. Suck, don't blow.
Suck, don't blow. Got it.
People often wanted to protect him in a way, you know, cook for him or scoop him up and, you know, throw adoration at him.
There was no sort of limpness about him at all. There was none of that. There was none of that sort of Grayson stuff, none of that Julian Clary stuff. He was just this little loony with sort of very silly outfits on, running about like a dervish.
My own family often gather round to watch television, as they are at this moment. And that is how I imagine you now.
He was quite unique. He was amazingly bright. And he burnt himself out, didn't he? But he had a tremendous talent.
He always wanted to leave on top. He'd always say, always leave a room on a high, even if the party's just getting going. So he'd always want to leave on a high.
And what a great show it's been. Let's now take time to look at some of the great bits from tonight's show. And here they are. Yes, that's what showbiz is all about.
After Kenny Everett, many people thought that camp comedy's time had come and gone, but it still lives and breathes with all the variety that is the spice of camp life.
like a fashion parade at Brent Cross all of a sudden, isn't it?
By the way, Vera's not Vera Lynn, that's a stage name. Her real name's Violet, but she got fed up with called Violin, so she wasn't And,
You're looking at me funny, what's the matter? I thought you wanted a word. Go on, chase me, go on, quick.
Here's what's on my shopping list today. A packet of chocolate digestive biscuits, a carton of carpet freshener, and 6 chilled cheese rolls.
How kind, thank you. Thought they'd never let me on.
The reigning queen of camp is Julian Clary. Unlike his predecessors, Clary is overtly rude and crude, taking the nudge-nudge and wink-wink out of camp and replacing it with a more graphic form of sexual innuendo. What enables him to get away with this, most of the time anyway, is his angelic appearance. It's like the face of a Botticelli angel with the mouth of Bernard Manning.
I don't suppose this flat will be grand enough for you.
Oh, no, 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 not too quickly, please. I like a